Let's talk about passport because it's a very important document to have, especially if you want to travel. And it's also another form of identification. Now, for some time now, we've been used to paying 100 Ghana cedis for passport. Now it is changing. It started today, this morning. Now you're going to pay more for your passport. That's because the Foreign Affairs Ministry has revised fees for passport application. Now, standard service for a 32-page booklet now will cost you 500 Ghana cedis, whilst a 48-page booklet will cost you 644 Ghana cedis. For expedited service, you will have to pay 700 Ghana cedis for the 32-page booklet and 800 Ghana cedis for the 48-page booklet. Now, it follows parliamentary approval. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Koko Asante will join me, but on your screen right now is how much you paid for a standard application for a passport, 32-page, from 100 Ghana cedis to 500 Ghana cedis. For the 8-page, from 150 Ghana cedis to 644. That's 339% increment. And for the first one, 400% increment. That's what the Minister of Foreign Affairs is giving to you as you celebrate Easter Monday, especially a holiday gift. Now, let me bring in Parliamentary correspondent Koko Asante, who has been following this matter in Parliament. Koko, you welcome to the pulse.
Thank you, Alton.
So it appears that the fees and charges that went through the 21-day maturation in Parliament is now matured and it's already taking effect.
Well, yes, Elton, like you said, a very important Easter gift from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. And from what we are learning, it is going to cut through a lot of ministries, departments, and agencies. And from tomorrow, Johnny will be breaking down some of the cost items from the various MDAs and how much we're expected to pay. And if this Foreign Affairs Ministry percentage is anything to go by, it means a lot of services are going to go up. But like you said, Elton, it's been 21 days, 21 sitting days of this LI having gone through Parliament. It's been a long, torturous journey. The Foreign Affairs Ministry have been on a certain project. They've been asking Ghanaians to pay what they call realistic passport fees. And in fact, on the 13th of December in Parliament and 14th also, when the Foreign Affairs Ministries had their estimates approved in the 2024 budget, the Foreign Affairs Minister was on the floor of Parliament, urging Parliament to urgently consider that Fees and Charges Act that the Foreign Affairs Ministry, as well as other MDAs, had put before Parliament, urging for an urgent reconsideration of how much you paid for a passport. And so, like he put out on the screen, it used to be 100 Ghana cedis. And so, in fact, yesterday, if you tried to buy a passport and you tried also to renew your passport, you're going to pay only 100 Ghana cedis. But as of this morning, 1st April, you're going to pay 500 Ghana cedis. And this is no April Fool, because Parliament has approved the Fees and Charges, the Miscellaneous Act, the regulation that empowers the various ministries, departments, and agencies as an every year or every 2 years to actually, review or revise their prices that they charge for the various services of the MDAs. And so today we are focusing on the passport services. Like you see on your screen, 32 pages, which used to be 100 Ghana cedis for a normal application, is now 500. A 32-page expedited used to be 150. It is now 700 Ghana cedis. And so this has gone up significantly. And the subsidiary legislation committee in Parliament, which has been dealing with this, has actually confirmed that this has gone through the lawmaking process in the House in terms of how LIs, legislative instruments, become law, and is currently law.
And my understanding is that same price will go for renewal of passports. So if you also renew your passport, you will pay the same amount for 32 pages and the other pages.
Yes. So it used to be that if you're buying a new passport or trying to renew your passport, you pay the same amount. If it was 100 cedi for a 32-page booklet, you pay the same amount. It is the same thing that has been carried forward to this time around, where if you are renewing your passport application and it's a 32-page standard application, you are going to pay 500 cedis. If you want expedited service, you pay 700 cedis. If you have a 48-booklet, we used to be 48 cedis, you are going to now pay 800 Ghana cedis for the expedited and 644 cedis for a standard service. And all this, it should be emphasized, has gone through rigorous parliamentary checks. It's been laid in the House for 21 sitting days and has now become law.
We'll hear from the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee shortly, Samuel Okudzato Ablaka, who says that this is very disappointing. According to him, the prevailing economic conditions does not justify this increment. But my question is, this was put before the Subsidiary Legislative Committee. They had the opportunity to look into it. Everybody kept quiet. It's been very quiet as far as this matter is concerned. And all of a sudden, we have voices that are kicking against what has now become law.
Exactly, Elton. And in fact, one thing that is also a bit surprising is that the Subsidiary Legislative Committee is one of the few committees in Parliament that is chaired by opposition MPs.
Right.
It's chaired by the NDC. Dr. Dominic Ayine is chairman of the committee. And so, Okudata Blackwell's point is noted that, of course, it is true that on the floor of Parliament in December, they did impress, he in particular, asked the Foreign Affairs Minister to actually shelve this increase and do that incrementally. But since this LI was laid on the floor of the House, there's been no talk about it. And in fact, when the NDC opposition wanted to oppose the LI that was going to ban the importation of rice, sugar, and all that, because they did make a lot of noise, and they were able to scuttle government plans to do that. And so if they wanted to do this, some have argued they would have been able to do this. But as of now, this has become law. It was laid in Parliament, 21 sitting days. There was not a haste. There was not a let or hindrance. In fact, for so many of us, this went really under the radar until the Foreign Affairs Ministry actually came public to announce as of this morning that this was going to happen. In fact, some people that I've been talking to say that, well, the Foreign Ministry wanted to be a bit tactical. They did not announce this ahead of time so that people would go and buy the passport in waiting because they don't want to pay the 500 cedis. So they announced it the very morning that the change is about to happen. But this was in Parliament, and there was no let or hindrance from anybody, from either the majority or the minority side. The minority MPs who are now claiming that this is something that is so expensive and they want something done about it.
And I can only expect more of such agitations going into tomorrow and the days to follow. Because, for example, I know that this same fees and charges that has matured in Parliament and is now a law, included in this document was also a proposal from Ghana Health Service, proposal that came from the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. For example, treatment of dialysis to go up to at least 600 Ghana cedis per session. And if this is what the LI approved, then clearly this is what is going to be the base pay in terms of dialysis treatment, maybe starting tomorrow. And the reason why also the verification for nurses also jumped from 500 Ghana cedis to 3,000 is also because this LI is not fully functioning.
Exactly. And in fact, from tomorrow, like I said early on, we're going to break down some of these cost items and how much exactly it is costing. Kolebu Teaching Hospital and some health facilities across the country had been making a lot of noise, demanding an increase in how much it costs for dialysis treatment in these public hospitals. They were not able to get their due, and now the Fees and Charges Miscellaneous Act has been passed. And in fact, my checks and Elton, I've been sharing that with you. Some of the members of the committee tell me that the Fees and Charges that was passed, it has 10,000 pages.
Right.
It covers almost all
metropolitan
district assemblies, department, agencies, hospitals, everybody. Every state entity that charges some amounts have gone through this process. And so from tomorrow, when we're able to secure full copies of these fees and charges regulation that has now become law, we will now get to know officially if dialysis was considered under this, and has it gone up. The patients had made a lot of points about how that will be a death sentence for so many persons. But it is left to be seen if that was also considered and whether these various hospitals, these various MDAs are going to make their own announcing a hike in these prices. Elton.
Thank you very much. Kokwa Sante is a parliamentary correspondent, and of course, 10,000-page document announcing new fees and charges in the country. And already the passport one is already generating some form of controversy because the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, is unhappy with what he described as disappointing fees that has been imposed on Ghanaians at the time that the country is going through some financial hardship. He says that the committee will summon the Foreign Affairs Minister to explain why passport fees jumped from 100 Ghana cedis to 500 Ghana cedis for just the 32-page document. Take a listen.
Will not bode well for a country. The timing is bad. We have unprecedented economic crisis. Inflation has gone through the roof. You know that the general living conditions are terrible. We have a cost of living crisis. This cannot be the time to do this. So we made our views very, very clear to them. What happened subsequently is that they went ahead, and this was added to the general fees and charges. But we insisted that even if this is where they want to get to, it could be done in a graduated manner. Because what the foreign minister admitted is that they had not touched the passport fees for a long time, for many years. So I said that, look, you don't virtually derelict for this long, and then suddenly you wake up saying that it is the lowest in the sub-region, and so you want to slap such a high percentage. And so let it be graduated. That was the advice we had for them. That is why we suggested that let it be graduated, because if you look at other countries who left us behind, it was being done gradually, and they didn't even achieve that increment during periods of economic crisis, not when we are going through financial haircuts, we are desperate for an IMF bailout and all of that. So I am deeply disappointed that the ministry did not take our advice and has just done one full swoop at a go, just imposing this high increment on the suffering Ghanaian people.
But this was subject to parliamentary. This was subject to parliamentary approval. Is there any possibly any last-minute intervention that might come through from your office, or perhaps the minority side on the Foreign Affairs Committee?
When the House resumes, we intend to revisit this matter, because my recommendation, I believe, that is sound. Our committee was clear that it should not be done in one single swoop, and that it should be a graduated approach. So it's a matter we will revisit. We will summon the ministers and officials from the ministry and see what can be done, because this is really, really, really terrible, and it's going to add on to the already excruciating hardship and anguish that Ghanaians are going through.